Absolutely not is normalizing the standard, period. If you bring the whole table, then you can sit with us. We're bringing all the uncomfy combos and creating an unapologetic space to drive the culture forward respectfully. Because it seems like everyone wants to keep their opinions in the comment section. Absolutely not. What's up, world? It's your girl, Alora, and we're back with another episode. What's up, world? It's your girl, Alora, and we're back with another episode of the Absolutely Not podcast. Be sure to tune in every week for new episodes. Today on the show, I have our favorite guest, Miss Jennifer Williams. Thank you for coming back.
Of course. I love it here.
We love having you. Every time you bring all the conversation and all the tea.
I love it. That's what I'm here for. That's what I was made for.
Absolutely. So today we're here to talk about work-life balance. And so I felt like Jen would be one of the perfect people to talk and have this discussion with, because not only is she a career woman, but she also has a very active personal life. So Jen, tell us, what do you do for work?
So currently I'm in sales, and I dabble with tech sales, but also real estate. And one of the things that I did when I came into sales was a promise for myself to not work past certain hours, and to make sure that I do have that work-life balance. And the reason I did that was because I almost killed myself working as a teacher for 10 years. There was no boundaries. I was working until 11 p.m. at night on the weekdays, getting up at 4 a.m., going to work with the students. It just was constant overload of my schedule. I would lesson plan on the weekends, grade papers on the weekends. And the thing about grading papers is and activities is that you have to do that yourself. You cannot, like, legally allow someone else to help you when you are grading. So it was very taxing on me. One of the most stressful part of the job to me was the extra stuff, not the kids. The kids is what kept me there as long as I was there. But being able to have a social life, a relationship with my friends, my family, and a significant other was not very feasible for me when I was in the classroom.
And that's totally understandable. I mean, we've seen so many teachers quitting. I also have worked in ed tech. We had a job together, and one of the main things that I would hear whenever I would talk to a teacher over the phone, or even a principal, for one, a lot of schools are closing due to low enrollment. And not only that, but a lot of teachers just are no longer in their positions. A lot of them have decided to find jobs elsewhere in different careers. I know tech has become a large thing now. It's a growing industry. It's always something new being created. But I think that being a teacher, like, really changed during the pandemic. I mean, growing up, my teachers did work long hours and there were no boundaries, but I don't think it was as bad as it became after the pandemic. It was a lot to figure out during that time. Teachers were trying to figure out not only how to handle what was going on in their personal lives, dealing with anxiety and depression, being locked up, but then also having to deal with their students throughout the day who were also going through those same things. So it was just a bit of a learning curve.
I think I have PTSD from teaching during the pandemic, and I know a lot of teachers also have the same. It was hard before the pandemic, though. The pandemic just made it worse. And it, like, to me, in my mind, it put the cherry on top.
Yeah.
And that was when I did a lot of things for education policy here in Texas. We did a lot of marches around the state. We went to Austin to try to convince the Commissioner of Education, Mike Morath, who was appointed by Governor Abbott, to listen to teachers, to take our health into consideration. He did not. And one of the things that we did get, though, was the mask mandates for our students. Up until 2021, June 2021, Greg Abbott sent out a message that May that the next following school year, kids were not going to have to be required to wear a mask.
Mm-hmm.
I screenshotted that, sent it to my principal, and I told her,
Bye-bye.
I gave her the peace sign.
Toodles.
Because she knew I was already on that, but listen, being a teacher, yes, it's taxing, but you're going to get sick no matter what. Those kids come in there with a stomach bug, you're going to get that stomach bug. Those kids come in there with the stomach flu or the
Strep.
flu or COVID, you're going to get it. And I knew that. So when the pandemic began, that was immediately where my mind was, and not just mine, but other teachers also. Where we're at now, last year when I quit, I gave my notice the day before my contract was going to be over.
Wow.
Yeah. I found a job, put in my notice that day. 250,000 teachers had already left education in the U.S. From a calendar year from the year before that.
And I think what's most discouraging about that number is the fact that Black teachers were already underrepresented, and now we're like less than 0.1% of that population.
It's so bad. When I started teaching, we were 7.2%. By that point, 2019, we were like 6.2%, and now it's so bad. Quarter of the teachers are Black teachers who are leaving, but there's a reason why that's happening.
Absolutely.
Black women have to make the money. If we're not making the money, the families are disparaged. Yeah. So being able to get out of education, I consider myself like the Harriet Tubman of teachers because I'm helping all my friends get out of education still.
I love it. You're leading them out of the underground railroad.
Yeah, because I'm all about choosing your happiness. And I haven't had any, well, I'm not going to say any. I've had some stress, but not the level of stress that I've had when I was in the classroom. And I'm on TikTok. I'm on teacher TikTok. And I still get, people coming up and this is the hardest year. And I'm like, girl, quit your job.
This year is the hardest year, though, because the standardized assessments are now, actually being graded. Yes. And so that was one of the hardest things that I faced, in ed tech. Hearing those things, and a lot of teachers were frustrated. They couldn't figure out, there were a lot of large learning gaps that took place during the pandemic. A lot of areas, they didn't hold students back because something grave happened, but I definitely think that some extra learning should have been put in place.
Well, and that is the reason I started my tutoring company, because I wanted to be able to still help those kids who were behind and who had bigger gaps than they would have if the pandemic didn't force them to stay home. I think that learning during a hybrid or a remote model was very difficult for many kids. The high school dropout rate is the highest it's been in over 20 years right now. It went up to 39% in Texas. I found these figures last week. And that to me is what this is all about. That's the reason I was a teacher. So it's just sad where we're at now. And then putting teachers in the classroom who don't have certifications or who are not even trying to go to school to get a certification is not the answer.
I think they're just trying to fill these positions. Yeah. They're just putting anyone in place now.
They're doing everything but paying teachers more. Guarantee you. And one thing that here in Texas, Greg Abbott has been trying to push, and DISD does this, is a teacher mastery program where if a teacher gets mastery scores in their assessments, then they have opportunity to make six figures. It's a very small percentage of teachers who are able to actually do that.
I agree.
And it's only one district in the whole state doing it. And he brought that up in his debate against Beto 2 weeks ago. And I'm just like, why would you do that? Why would you act like that is a profitable program when at the end of the day, it's just politics. The only reason Dallas is doing this is politics. No other district is doing it in the state for a reason. And I worked in districts, one of the top 2 districts here in North Texas. And I never had to worry about if I was going to be getting a comparable salary to my best friends who were in another district, because I knew I was making more than them. but I wasn't making six figures.
Exactly.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And just because you make six figures as a mastery teacher one school year doesn't mean you're going to get that the next school year. So it's very
kind of like
unstable.
Sales. Very dicey.
Yes.
So now that you've transitioned out of your career in, I almost said home health care because I worked in home health, but now that you've transitioned out of your career as a teacher, do you find it hard working from home and also like trying to balance your personal life?
I do find it hard working from home only because I'm used to like moving all day and around, and just staying active. So that was something that was an adjustment for me, is being at a computer screen and having to sit there. I do take frequent breaks.
As you should.
I do. I have to. I'll take a little yoga break. I'll walk around, take the dog for a walk. I don't have a dog, but I'm an auntie to a dog. And so I'm watching my niece's dog right now. So I take him for walks. I'm able to at least balance that. But personal life, I'd say working remote it's easier to have a personal life. It's a lot more, I'm able to maneuver more. I have a lot more time. And I go into the office 2 days a week. So I'm on a hybrid model. Those days I dread because I have to get up. I have to take a shower. I brush my teeth. But I don't put makeup on usually. I don't get dressed. I'm usually just like wake up and go. I have to commute. So like those things to me definitely make it to where I want to work from home more often. Yeah. And I don't, like with real estate, I don't mind like going places because I like to be active. It's going into the office where no one's there.
Yeah.
And sitting in a room where I could be sitting in a room at my house. Like, what is the point that I'm here?
We'll touch on that.
I'm applying for remote, like forever home is what they were calling it. Yeah, I'm applying for that.
I applied for that, but I got moved to the California team, and so like Zach didn't make us come in.
Yeah.
Well, obviously because they were in California.
I love that.
But I agree with you. I feel like remote work has definitely, I won't even say remote work. I think that the pandemic kind of created a new hierarchy or a social hierarchy where we learned how to prioritize our personal life over our professional life. Now, I will say that has definitely been an adjustment for me because I'm the type of person like I function in extremes. So I'm either all in or I'm all not.
So you couldn't do the hybrid?
Yeah, no, I couldn't. I couldn't do hybrid.
Frustrated like me.
Yeah. But working from home, I find it hard to like shut my computer at the end of the day, especially in sales because like you get so addicted to closing a deal or making sure that whoever you're talking to is taken care of because you want that money to come in even quicker. The more you talk to them, the more you keep them engaged, the quicker that check's coming.
Yeah.
So
true.
I find it hard for me to like close my laptop and then like you said, like during the day you have more hours to like do things that you enjoy, but I also find myself like feeling guilty for doing those things. So like going to the gym, going to like, let's say I have hair appointments, girls got to have their maintenance. I have nail, hair, lashes, but none of my people work on the weekend. So I always have to schedule it during the week and it always has to be before 5 because they work the same hours as us.
Okay.
And so when I take my laptop to work outside of my house, I feel like very guilty for doing that.
I feel the opposite. I feel like I deserve this life and that I worked hard to have a remote job because when I was teaching, none of that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's where I'm coming from. It's like I was I'm pretty much enslaved as a teacher. And then to have this freedom, to have an hour lunch, teachers only get 30 minutes, which is really just a potty break and walk around the campus.
And what's
anything.
crazy is like where I work now, like you don't even get a lunch break. Like all like throughout the day.
Break?
No, girl. My mom says she's gonna call in on them because I'll be working on my computer all day and then I'll look up. It'll be 5 o'clock. We would have gotten off our last meeting, and I'm like, oh shit, I haven't eaten lunch.
They want you to eat while you're working,
and they want you to have your camera on too while you're eating.
This is a lot. I'm not applying there.
But no, it's a great company. I really do love them. We have...
But work-life balance-wise, it's not, right?
I feel like I just kind of had to get in the groove of things.
Mm.
That was like one of my first months working there. I still have days where I don't get to have lunch, but I noticed that like if I go ahead and forward think like, okay, I know that I'm going to get my nails done this week, I'm going to go ahead and put that on my calendar so nothing's scheduled at that time.
Okay.
And then like therapy.
Yeah.
Like I don't play about therapy.
Yeah, same.
Like I have therapy tomorrow. It's on my calendar. They know not to schedule anything there.
Yeah, it's permanently there. Mine too.
Exactly.
Okay. I see. I don't feel guilty though. The guilt isn't there. It's more like, let's make sure I don't have a meeting during this time while I'm at the nail salon, so you don't see that I'm at the nail salon.
Exactly.
Or I put my camera off, you know. Or sometimes my boss will do these random meetings and check-ins. And
Yes. Those, I hate those.
yeah.
They'll just message you and be like, hey, can you hop on really quick? Which personally, I don't know if you feel this way.
It gives me anxiety.
Yeah, it gives me anxiety too. And I also feel like Slack and Microsoft Teams, because you know it has the active symbol there. I feel like they're used as tools to micromanage, because the moment you see the bubble go from green to white, that's when you get a message from your manager.
I see that, and I also see, because there's like a location thing on there that you have to go and turn off.
Wait, hold on. You gotta teach me how to turn mine off.
I will teach you. Is it Slack?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll teach you.
Okay, because like I literally take trips all the time.
Right. And you need to no, the only reason I know this is because one of our friends, that happened to her, and it was asked, where are you? Why does it show that you're on the West Coast? Yeah. So I turned that off.
No, that happened to me too.
Yeah.
At the same company.
Teaching. All of it's still better than teaching. Like, I'll take any of it any day. Like, the anxiety that I get from sales is not the same as teaching. But Ann Richards, do you know who that is?
Yes, I do know who Ann Richards is.
That.
I actually went to the sister school of Ann Richards.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Okay, so she is a teacher, and she said that was the hardest job she's ever had, even being governor of Texas.
Wow.
So I'm not, lying here when I'm saying, like, it's still better than teaching. Anything's better than teaching. So they can micromanage. They can do all of that. It's still, I get an hour lunch.
I love that for you, girl, because I'll be eating at my desk, like, with the camera on. I'm on there on meetings with the VP of sales. We have, like, those all hands meetings, and everybody is eating lunch at the same time.
See, that's definitely holding you hostage. But if you're remote, I guess, you can get around it some ways.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I have noticed that there is like a buzzword that has been popping on social media lately, quiet quitting. Now, quiet quitting refers to like a rising trend of where employees are doing the bare minimum work, which I honestly think that it's crazy that this is buzzing now, because I thought that this was like already something that we were doing once we transitioned to remote life. After that first year in the pandemic, I thought we were all doing the bare minimum. Like,
I think what it is, because I've read several different breakdowns of this. We're doing our job description. We're doing what's on the job description. We're not going exceedingly above. But I've heard that Gen Z and the younger millennials, which is me, I am a millennial, and you're Gen Z, that we're just reinventing the wheel, because our parents, who were Gen X or boomers, my parents are boomers. Boomers especially, though, are notorious for
going
working,
over and beyond.
Working their butts off and having this loyalty to a company.
Yes.
And not
blind loyalty.
Yeah, blind loyalty, and not seeing that
boundaries
growth
should be in place. Yeah. They'll work very hard in their same position for 20 plus years. No promotion, no salary
and
upgrades. Yes.
I told my mom, because she just retired. She was working for a company for over 30 years. She hated this company. She hated it. And she was complacent. That's the word. She was complacent. Even though she hated it, even though she couldn't stand the men because they were misogynistic, and the pay. I mean, she was an accountant, so she made good money. But she just had to do a lot.
I'm not even sure if it's just complacency. I think that baby boomers and the Gen X population have this feeling of always needing to prove themselves. Like, that's where that whole blind loyalty comes from.
Don't care.
No, like, we know our worth, so we're not worried about whether you see it or not. But the Gen X and the baby boomer population had that blind loyalty. And not only that, but they're going to grind their gears until the end
To
just to
the end.
prove their
Well, 'cause
point.
they retire and then they die. Because a lot of times, especially with boomers, the studies show that once they retire, they have like a 5-year time matrix where they're not as active, their body starts shutting down, and things happen, right? I'm being proactive with my mother because that happened to my dad when he retired. With my mom, I'm like, we got to keep you active. So she's watching my nephew, is what she does.
Aww.
And, that's what she wanted to do. She wanted to spend more time with grandma, being a grandma and with her grandkids. So she gets to do that. But it is one of those things that I do see a difference in our generations, and I'm with it.
I agree. One thing that I noticed is like over the last few years, a lot of people have been striving to be entrepreneurs, which obviously everyone is not going to be an entrepreneur. But people were doing that not because they wanted to own a business or become a CEO. They were doing it because they hated their 9 to 5. But once we created this movement of quiet quitting and just doing exactly what our job description asks of us, I noticed that like corporate America is not that bad. It's actually very bearable.
I'm with it. But I also I think people being entrepreneurs because they don't want to work a 9 to 5. That's a great reason. That's a great reason to be your own boss, and I'm so for it. I say that because I am an entrepreneur, but I do support the movement that we're headed in. Being able to find something that fits you is amazing, and a lot of teachers, from my perspective, they're so scared because they don't know what they're going to do next. I told my vice principal and my principal, like, hey, I believe in myself. I'm not going to be here next year.
Yeah.
And I wasn't.
I love that.
So it made me feel purposed, like I'm still living my purpose, but I'm just going on to the next thing that God has for me.
I agree. And I was just telling my mom this weekend, people say life is short, but the average person lives like between 70 and 80 years, which to me like really is not that short. But to me, I feel like with each decade comes some sort of evolution. And I hate seeing people live their life doing the same thing for all the 70 years that they've been here. Like, for me, I'm not the same person I was 5 minutes ago.
I don't want to work when I'm 70.
That too. But not only that, I just feel like whatever you have a passion for, because God gave us all a lot of gifts. Use each one of them with every decade. Find a new career, find something new that interests you, and go full throttle with that.
Be versatile.
I feel like that's what keeps you not complacent, and that's what just keeps you moving and active, and it's always something new to learn. Now, the last thing that I want to touch on is the Great Resignation.
Okay.
So, if you guys don't know, the Great Resignation was an ongoing economic trend during COVID where employees voluntarily resigned from their positions early in 2021. So, I also left my job during the Great Resignation, but definitely on that tail end. So, how do you feel about the Great Resignation?
I also participated because that was the same timeline.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, same timeline. And to me, it took guts. It took a lot of courage to say, hey, I'm not going to do this anymore. But I literally chose my mental health. I had to. There was no other way. I have PTSD from teaching in the pandemic, and I was so depressed. And it wasn't the kids. The kids actually made it nicer. And that's why I stayed and didn't quit in the middle of the school year, because I could have done that. I sure could have. But I have friends who also left their places of work and was able to find higher pay. So there was a lot of movement across the board. And I think that being able to be in a country that is possible makes me proud to be an American, okay?
Yes, we love America. I think that was a great way to sum that up.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with you.
It's true, though, because our economy is what it is. And right now where we're at, We have a president who has low unemployment records right now. I think that is amazing. We need to be speaking about that. It doesn't mean that we're not getting ready for a possible recession. It doesn't mean that that's not happening, but people are able to find jobs.
Yeah.
And that to me is a sign of a healthy economy.
Not only that, people are able to find jobs because of this whole remote work thing. You can find a job internationally. There are several people. Yes. I have friends who work remotely and have 2 6-figure positions. I have a company that I'm working with now, one of our clients. They're based out of India, but they're looking for a lot of talent here and sourcing talent in the US.
Wow.
So now, like, working from home and having that remote work environment just really opened up a different world, especially in tech. I feel like tech, I said this earlier, is just an emerging space within our realm of careers. I definitely feel should be constantly explored.
I think so too, especially here in Texas. I mean, Austin, they're saying is the new
Silicon Valley. Yes.
Yeah, that's huge. And Austin's our state capital. So why not?
Don't mess with Texas. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today, Jen. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I hope that you're willing to do the next one with me too.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
Yay.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to tune in every week to Absolutely Not the Podcast as we have new episodes releasing.